Hello everyone, and how are you guys today? Well, guess what? You're gonna see me 2 times this week to talk about something science, because remember, I have a series now talking about astrology, giving you a little crash course so you can understand your birth chart or your natal chart and be able to understand who you are and help yourself as holistically, as they say. So today, it's not about astrology, but it's about technology. That rhyme, theologies. So today about technology, I have been having this ad pop up on my TV so many times on YouTube saying, "This is the Industrial Revolution."
Imagine hundreds of thousands of autonomous cars sharing information every moment to improve passenger safety. Now imagine this intelligent city getting more intelligent every day. This is the fourth industrial revolution.
It's like we're in another industrial revolution. But anyway, history aside, well actually not history aside, because I am talking about history today, because I'm going to run down the first, second, third, and are we in the fourth revolution? We'll find out in the video today. So that is today's topic, and let's jump into it. Oh my god, guys, I'm actually really excited to talk about this because it has been popping up so much that I had to go search out for myself. Okay, the revolution of technology. So this is the stages of technology evolving throughout in different revolutions. And by revolutions, well, I will describe these in this slide right here. So what is an industrial revolution? Well, first, let's break down, what does industry mean? Well, it's all about the economy. And so we're talking about how goods are being produced and how people, us the consumers, are buying those goods. So what is a revolution then? A revolution is bringing forth new ideas by taking down the old ideas. It's like overthrowing a monarchy if you think about it. You want this king down because you're tired of their ideas. Well, that's what it's like with the Industrial Revolution. So how are they making these changes and evolving through these years? This is centuries I'm talking about. Well, they're evolving through technology. Isn't that amazing? And I learned technology is so much more than just like a computer or a cell phone or like a camera. So technology are machines that are used to advance scientific research. For example, in this picture right here, we have a very advanced scientific calculator that I do not own. This is a graphing calculator that has access to the internet. And why is this important? Because this calculator can do many things for you. It can solve equations for you. It can graph for you. It can find points on the graph for you. So basically what a computer program can do is on your calculator. I, however, have a downgraded version of this. And this is what I've been using since high school, because they were talking about this is the new wave of calculators that are going to be used in colleges. So they said to get this specific type of calculator, which is a TI-84. This is really not important for anyone, but as a math major, it would be important, I guess, what kind of calculator you want. So here, my calculator can graph. It is a graphic calculator. However, it does not have access to the internet. So although it may be able to graph a function for me, I have to manually find the points myself rather than entering it in to an equation and it does it for me. But the thing is the internet is everywhere nowadays. This is why we're talking about technology and industrial revolutions. So therefore, they in college are not allowing you to use these type of calculators. Instead, using a scientific calculator, which I'm not sure if this is the basic of calculator or just one step above basic. And what this does is really you just plug in and it does basic like algebra, adding, subtracting, a little bit of trigonometry of sine and cosine, which is talking about angles. So really that's what this does for you, but it can't solve an equation for you. It can only give you values through operations. So that's the difference in technology. And why is this so important? Well, because as science evolves, technology evolves. Because as you see right here, a calculator that has the internet that's able to write functions out for you. Well, solve functions out for you. You no longer have to physically, manually write it out on a piece of paper and have like pages long of this stuff. In calculus is so deep that really when they do proofs, which means prove that this equation is true. So really you're proving, I deep dive a little bit to talk about how complex this stuff is that math is basically proving that the math is true. So this is how far technology has gone, that we can now tell technology, hey, solve this problem for me so I don't have to. But the farther we are advancing in our knowledge, we need the computer and technology to catch up with us, because we're growing faster manually rather than technologically, which is why we're having all these different industrial revolutions. Wow. So, the first industrial revolution, to bring it all the way back to the basics. So this was when factories were created, and as in this picture right here, this is a spinny jenny. Believe it or not, that's what it was called. A spinny jenny, and this is what, instead of having to knit and do things by yourself, or like in a group of course with knitting and stuff, teamwork effort, right? So, but this allows machines to do it for you. So as you would see, the person would, what do you call it, filter through these different rings, yarn, and then they're able, I guess that's where they call, looms, where I'll show a picture of a loom, where you have these yarns that you're having and you do like a stitch cross almost, and there's a way to, I don't know, it's complicated for me to explain it, but this is like a modern day version of like a spinny jenny, and showing you how technology is also evolving throughout the years. But so mass production was being made, which means things were being produced in an excess. There's no longer handcraft things. We're now having factories, which means there are types of machinery like a spinny jenny doing work to help you speed up your process to produce a product for somebody to consume. So this is all about economics and how can we make more money, essentially. So another thing that was made was the steam engine, which obviously you would need a railroad to put a steam engine on, but not all trains have steam engines. Well, not all steam engines are trains. There are different types of steam engines, like for automobiles, but we haven't quite made it there yet. But this was simple transportation, and this is how we got goods across that were mass producing for people to consume. This is how we were transporting them through railroads, and also this was a way for people to travel and also share their ideas, which is also what blooms science, because sharing and collecting data from different parts of the area, country, world, different information, different types of mindsets come together, and you're able to further your scientific knowledge and your research. So the second industrial revolution, this is where technology is really starting to come into. And no, we're not talking about technology like a cell phone. Technology like machines that are able to work through electricity, basically. So like Henry Ford right here made the first car. This is where instead of using steam for cars or horse and buggies, but we've kind of evolved from a horse and buggy, and now we're using electricity and motor power to fuel a car. Which is interesting, and now if you think about it today, we are now having electric cars where we just plug in a car like a cell phone. Isn't this amazing? And right here, this is a telegraph. This was a way that they would communicate. It's like Morse code. You're like tapping a button and it sends a signal. And depending on how many taps you send, that's a code for them to read. This was also for helping during war times, which is why we evolved in our machinery where we're now making automated weapons, which means weapons that can shoot by themselves. This was an early day sniper in the picture, and they also made rifles, raffles as well. But to talk about chemistry, because we are talking about science here, we did find scientific knowledge through searching atoms, which is how we find different elements, because elements are atoms clumped together to make like a basic unit of property. It's not like the basic unit of life, because that's an atom. Atom makes up an element. So now we're looking at going even deeper into an element. Now we're able to look at the atomic structure, which means we know an atom has a proton, a neutron, an electron, and how they orbit around. If you've seen these rings before, talking about how electrons orbit in an atom. Oh, I did forget to talk about, there are some pre-times, like right here, there is the pre-Second Industrial Revolution, and this is where bridges and traffic lights were made. This is the transition from the steam engines to now where we had railroads, but now we're making bridges to connect land masses, like different types of land that's separated by water, and traffic lights. Hey, safety. Now we have to control these policies. How are we going to transport goods, and we're crossing paths, because eventually something's going to have to cross with all these different types of roads we're making, because we can't see but so far ahead of ourselves. So eventually, because the earth is so big, something is going to have to meet. So we're going to have these traffic lights to conduct how we maneuver in our everyday life. But let's take a little detour, because this is where science was kind of not flowing, because yikes. That's what I got. So we got the Roaring 20s, but in here for the science purpose we call it the Soaring 20s. Or if you want to look this up, you can call it the 1920s economic boom. Why is that important? Because the following 10 years after the 1920s is the Great Depression, which was the economic depression. So it's all about economy here. So what was so great about the Soaring 20s? Well, now we're finding ways to make agriculture, which means we're finding ways to make food and produce food in mass quantities. Not genetically modify them. No, that's too early. That's too modern. No, back then we're just finding ways to harvest things in mass production. Like those things, I'm not a farmer, but I will show. They have like those things that kind of just like shoot on by, and it like picks up things or chops whatever you see. But these are the types of things that were made. But also now we're getting off of the ground and up in the air with airlines. So now we're making airplanes. But also in the Soaring 20s, because this is where everything is booming, everything is in mass consumption, mass making, mass production. When everyone wants household utilities, hey, I want a vacuum. Hey, these are when TVs are starting to come around. I want a TV in my room. I want a radio. So now everyone wants these things that are in their house, and therefore they're working harder and working more to get these things. And what happened? The Great Depression. Stock market crashed because everyone wanted too much. But that was also because there was an economic crisis going on as well, because so many investors were investing in these businesses that were up and booming and sprouting, because everything is soaring and roaring. But at the same time, this causes everything to be unstable, because if there's so many flows of in and out and it's not equal, eventually it's going to get out of sync and it's just going to crash. It's like a wave essentially. So this is why science took a pause, because there was just too much going on in the economy that really nobody wanted to put forth to science, big science discoveries that changed the way we live. Of course, there were still minute, like small things that were going on to enhance the things that were already there, but we weren't like doing anything too grand. But the third industrial revolution, where we currently leaving, we don't know. We'll see. So the third industrial revolution is also known as the digital revolution. And now that we're leading out of the depression, let's go to space. Hey, space race. Russia sent their first satellite up into space, and that caused everyone else to be like, oh, I want to go up to space, because everyone was like, how can we get to space and discover the moon and stuff? Really, it was just, can we send something up to space first? The moon was too grand. But, yeah, I mean, of course, like, we got to the moon and other space discoveries. Hey, astronomy! Anyway, so there was also nuclear power plants. Now atoms are being fused on the nuclear level to make energy, which is why we have nuclear power plants. See how we evolved from coal to electricity to atoms now? Industrial revolution, technology. But the question is, where are we currently? Well, we're being introduced into the digital world. This is the time when the internet was created. And I showed this picture right here because I could not believe my eyes when I saw that there was an actual touchscreen computer back in those times. I'm shocked. I didn't even think that that was a thought at that time. But that shows you how we're evolving and what they were thinking about at the time, because of course they would only evolve from there, because we evolved to cell phones now and having social media where we're able to connect to everybody around the world because we have the internet. This is why we're going digital into the internet space. And with this, we also are reusing solar panels. So now we're finding ways to reuse energy and be more natural, because really all the things that we're doing, we're using up the natural resources that we have. So we're trying to find ways to be more abundant and recycle. I'm sorry, I don't recycle, but we need to start recycling and really look at our carbon footprint and be mindful about planting trees. Oh, I'll post something right here that I saw NASA post earlier this morning, which probably would have been yesterday their time, because it was 18 hours ago when I looked at it this morning. So NASA is talking about trees and about the Earth's climate, and this is what's so important. So we're finding ways to sustain Earth, because we're putting out too much energy and too much waste from all these chemical and electrical processes that we're using to compute energy. A lot of energy takes to compute a computer and a cell phone. That's why we have that's the more G's we get. We're at 5G. The more G's we get, the stronger the radiation that's coming off of these towers that is hitting our bodies. So we also have to be mindful about that, because radiation poison can be a problem with these radio waves if they're too strong. And now we have internet, where we have max access to everything, and we're saving it into this digital space. Where are we saving our information to? Well, we're saving it to a mainframe computer, which is like a big mega drive computer. It's like a God computer, essentially, that we're sending our information, but that takes so much information to power, because we have billions of people on the earth. And think of how many people are using technology at this moment. So that means that's a lot of energy we're using. CERN is already having to probably shut down their high energy Large Hadron Collider, where they're shooting high particles for mass science to study physics and the starting of the universe. They might have to shut down because there is currently power nuclear energy crisis going on in Europe because of what Ukraine is doing. So this stuff requires a lot of energy. So we have to find ways to get more energy, basically. So where does that leave us today then? Yikes. Well, in 2016, which was not too long ago, there was the fourth industrial revolution that was coined, and this is now. So in 2016, where are we? We all heard about Sophia, right? The amazing talking robot that looks so human. And I have this new robot that I will show in this clip right here.
Amica is the pinnacle of what we can do, but it's still not exactly like a human, because whatever the mechanics do looks lifelike. So Amica's got quite a few motors in its head.
Oh my god, I love Amica. She is my favorite. I'm obsessed with her. But anyway, so as you see in this picture right here, this is the real human, and this is an AI robot version of him. Do you see how close that is in similar aspects? Now think about this. This is AI, which means artificial intelligence, which means internet is being smart and human thinking, but thinking more than a human because they have access to the internet, and the internet has everything. So they are like the genius of all geniuses. They will probably be like the gods of this earth because they're that intelligent. They will outsmart us. However, the thing about this too is I talked about Neuralink, which is also going to be on my next slide. I talked about Neuralink, which talks about how the brain is like an electrical current, which is like what controls computers and robots. So if we can find a way to bring our chemical pulses from our brains to a computer robot, then this person could, in theory, transfer their conscious, what makes them think and human and be human and alive, put it into a robot, and a robot will now have a life. Now the question is, who will be the most intelligent? Who will be showing forth the intelligent robot or the person that we just put in? Because we didn't put their soul in there. We just put what powers the body in there. So then who really is there in the end? But anyway, this is science fiction and really diving into the future, which is also on my next slide. So, as I was talking about, we're able to save our information to a computer, and this shows you right here how deep the system is. We're able to save to a cloud, which is these megaframe servers in a sense, or like a computer storage unit. And this storage unit sends out information to servers, which is what you're connecting to when you connect to the internet on any device. This is how they're able to track your location, what you're doing, gather information about you, what are you watching, what do you like, and curate and be like, oh, you like astronomy? Hey, here's astronomy. Hey, you like tarot? Here's somebody that likes tarot. Stuff like that. That's what they're doing through this system right here of basically crowd surfing, stalking you on the internet and saving your information without you knowing. Even though they say they have privacy, anyone can tap into it. That's why you can get hacked, and that's why we need to advance even more. Because if we're going into a digital age, we need to be able to protect ourselves. And if we don't have the protection to keep ourselves private and keep our information safe and not stolen and used against our rights and without our consent, like big companies are doing, like Google and Facebook and YouTube, but yet we don't have a problem with it because we're getting the information that we like, because they're giving us things we like. And we're also giving permission to them when we sign up that we are giving the rights to our privacy. And yeah, I'm sorry, I went on a rant about privacy, but this is the issues that we have to talk about the further we get into technology. Like, we have to look at where we are today and where we're heading into the future and get proactive about where the future is going, because we know where we're going. And 3D printing, we're now able to literally take things from the computer and print it and make it a reality. Yes, somebody physically drew this eagle-looking statue on a rock on a computer, put it into 3D sculpting simulator that changed it from 2D, which was basically a flat-looking figure, to 3D, which has 3 dimensions. We're able to look at it, us, and there they was able to print it somehow through technology, the magic of technology. I'm telling you, this information was sent from a computer to a device that was able to physically make it. And this is also all about math too. Like, we do math. This is what math does. This is what calculus does. This is what physics do. This is like what everything is all about. And so, where are we going in the future? Well, I've talked about the metaverse. We love the metaverse because the metaverse is the next step in the next future and the next phase, as they say, of the internet. And what's the next phase? Being in the internet, because that's the last thing that we literally cannot do, because everything else is on the internet except our physical body. But how can we physically get there? But we can get your conscious there though. So that's what the metaverse is about. Nanotechnology. Right, here's an example of nanotechnology. And nanotechnology is basically, now we're able to, as I talked about, we were using nuclear power plants, which is basically using atoms to fuse and create energy. Well, now we're using these atoms and editing them, rearranging them to make them into something different. Like graphite on a lead pencil that you write with, that can be turned into a diamond if you rearrange it in the right ways. And this is what we're doing with nanotechnology. And this picture right here shows you that this is an example of nanotechnology. This, because right here there is some type of, I'm not sure if somebody sprayed something on this piece of fabric that repels water, which means water literally cannot go into this piece of fabric. Or they're trying to literally make fabric that is waterproof, that when water gets on it, it just comes right off. You don't even have to spray anything on it. It's just that. That's where we're trying to go into the future. And speaking of the metaverse and talking about clothes, there was a small rave of online internet fashion that people were wearing, where you could literally buy internet clothes, wear it and post it online when we had to go in because of this virus. Why are we buying clothes online if we can't physically wear them? What do we get? We're not going anywhere. We're just taking a picture and posting it online. We're not even going to a club. Why do we need these clothes? That's just how I feel, but this is where we're going to the future. But talking about editing, this brings us to body modifications, physically changing the human body, like being able to edit your DNA. Yeah, literally, you can edit DNA. If you want your baby to have certain features, you could, but of course they haven't done that yet, no. But right now it's currently in the test and in experiment use only. It's not for the mass public yet, but this is where we're heading to, because if we're able to edit DNA, then our babies, we could theoretically make them however we want. So therefore we also stripping them of their identity before they can be born. So they could have wanted a body, but they got put into a body that wasn't theirs because somebody was just like, oh, I want my baby to be taller than me because I feel short. Okay, cool, I guess. But also this brings Neuralink, which Elon Musk is talking about and owns, where Neuralink is using technology to enhance the body for functions that you no longer, like that you lost. So let's say you're paralyzed. Well, now you have something inserted in your brain that can now run the computer for you. because you can't do it yourself because you're paralyzed. This is where we're going to the future of technology, and this is what they are calling the fourth industrial revolution, where they're blurring the lines between humanity, reality. That's basically what they're blurring the lines between, and that's being blurred through technology. Because technology is what's bridging the gap between reality and the physical body. If we can dive into technology where physics can literally be defied, like literally you could like fly if you wanted to because it's the internet. You're not bound by the physical laws of gravity on the internet. It's the internet. It has its own rules. You can make your own rules. Anybody can make their own rules. Eventually there will be set rules that we will all have to follow because we're going to have a society on the internet. But yes, but I wanted to talk quickly about examples of the metaverse because this is talking about immersing you into reality. Well, movies, for example, they have 4D movies, which is where you're able to sit, watch a movie, and smell, maybe feel the movie. This is crazy. This is a way to immerse you without being like virtual. And then there's two different ways you can alter reality. You can do virtual reality where you full on jump into a virtual reality, or you can do augmented reality where I'm sitting here and, for example, I could have a plant just sitting right here, a potted plant sitting right here on my computer, whisking and blowing, doing whatever it wants. And if I wanted to, I could pretend like I'm interacting with it, and that's augmented reality. We're having digital reality in reality. So, I will see you guys later. That is the end of my presentation. Welcome to the future. Hello, future, and I will see you guys later to talk about Neuralink because October 31st is approaching and I will be taking notes. So, thank you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Always ask questions if you do. I will be happy to try to explain the best I can. I know this is a lot of things that I cover and they can be very deep and very heavy, and it's a lot in 30 minutes because I sure do talk fast because there is so much that I feel like I have to explain in order for it to make just a little bit more sense, because this is literally trying to explain the unseen sometimes. So thank you guys, and I will talk to you later. Mwah.